You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Castle After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Castle After Show.
Bing is for doing, and we are doing another episode here on AfterBuzz TV for Castle Season 5, Episode 10, titled Significant Others. I am Bamm Ericsen, and I would like to introduce my host.
Yes, hi, I am Paige Sullivan.
I'm Samara Bay.
And I'm Larice, Shamar.
So, it's good to be back. Happy New Year's to all of you guys that are out there watching and listening. And so, another great episode. And so let's dig right into it. So let's talk about, with it being, the title was called Significant Others. And so the ex-wife, Meredith, come back, which is played by Darby Stansfield, who's also on Castle. So
Scandal.
Uh-oh.
Damn it. I'm thinking too much, as it's been a while since I've been here, but she's one of the stars on Scandal for another show that hosts, so it was good to see her back. She's been tweeting about it for the past couple of weeks, about how excited that she was to be able to come back, because I haven't seen her in, gosh, maybe what, season 1, season 2?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that was her until she mentioned it, and then I saw an episode doing the repeats. But so she's back. And because the daughter is
Mono.
She had mono. The daughter's name is
Alexis.
I always want to call her Molly, because
Yes, because that's her real name.
That's her real name, and because she tweets me every once in a while.
Oh, you can call her Molly. You can do that.
She's your friend.
Yeah, we're friends now. But. And so she had mono, Alexis had mono, and so Meredith comes because the two of them were supposed to take a trip to Paris, and so she makes her grand entrance, and she decides that she's going to stay in the house. And so that was besides the actual murder, that was the theme going on. She was staying in the house.
Yeah.
Castle didn't really have the balls to say no, and Beckett didn't like it because Beckett is also staying in the house because her house is being renovated. So let's just dive fumigated. So what do you guys think about that in regards to Castle's current girlfriend and his ex-wife all living in the house?
Drama.
Yeah, I need questions answered. Like, where does Meredith live?
Yeah.
Why couldn't she get a hotel room? Why couldn't Alexis stay with her at her house? All of these things I want to know.
Well,
also, the actress playing Meredith, I think, made some choices right at the beginning to seem like she had an ulterior motive.
Agenda.
Yeah.
She kind of came in it with the motive of, hey, I'm staying here. You can't tell me no because this is my daughter. You are my ex-husband. But at the same time, she just made it upon herself like they never were separated. It's like, hey, I just came home. I'm here. And you have to accept it. And Castle accepted it.
And she probably knew he would.
Yeah, and even her personality, she's like this rich, bougie, you can't tell me anything, I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah.
And so that's like her personality.
Oh, yeah, and the way she treated the mother when she walked in, she just shoved her purse in her hands. I was surprised she didn't throw it right back at her. I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and clearly the mother, the character's name is Martha. Martha does not like the ex-wife, Meredith.
No,
she doesn't.
abundantly clear.
They don't like each other at all.
And I love how this whole episode they kept referring to Martha, Meredith, and Alexis as the redheads.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny. This episode, I have to say, had a lot of laughs in it for me. I mean, everybody was cracking jokes and being silly, and I like that coming back after the break. It's fun to get back into the castle swing of things.
It's true. It's true. And it was great, of course, that they could tie in the, the murder plot with the same significant others issue.
Yeah, it's like an overarching theme for everything.
So, okay, and then I mean, what do you guys think about that? You know, Castle, he had he was living in a house full of women. and clearly he could
even
not.
more so than usual.
Yeah, and he couldn't. He just, it was too much for him. So it's like, you know, when Beckett said that she had a problem with that, you know, Castle had a problem confronting his ex-wife about living in the house. So clearly Castle was uncomfortable about the whole entire situation. Why do you think he was uncomfortable? Why didn't do you think he wanted to say anything?
He just didn't know how to say no. You know, it's kind of hard sometimes when you kind of have someone you've been in love with for quite some time, and especially when you have kids in there, to tell somebody, no, you can't do this. You know, and I think it was kind of hard. He just wanted to please everybody, from his daughter to his ex-wife to Beckett, to where he was just like, let's just compromise. We'll go, like, they can have the house and we'll leave. So he's like, he tried to do everything to prevent himself to tell his ex-wife no.
It did seem like it sort of pointed to a larger character trait of Castle's, that he really avoids confrontation. He really does want to keep things positive and fun, and that, you know, leads to, actually in this case, everybody being mad at him.
Do you think he should have had the balls to step up, being that his current girlfriend did not like the situation, and he knows that his mother doesn't like his ex-wife? So she's only, but then she's there, you know, for the daughter, which she didn't come out the room the whole entire episode until the end because she was asleep, you know.
I don't think that anybody truly wanted her there. I don't think Alexis really wanted her mom. When you have mono, you don't want anybody there. You just want to sleep. And so I think more for Meredith, she was trying to prove a point. And she said at the end of the episode, I was doing this to see who you were, to Kate. And she said that to her straight up. And so, yes, we all thought she had an agenda, and she did. And she made her point. She met Kate, approves of Kate, and she leaves. I mean, I think she's like every other woman. She knows what she wants. She's going to get it. And she did.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I guess I was just thinking there is the potential that she did have an additional agenda, considering how the episode ends. But I don't want to go there yet.
But being that, in one of the scenes when they wake up in the morning, she comes down the stairs in her panties and her t-shirts. And the t-shirt, and the t-shirt was a half shirt, so you know she had the midriff showing.
No, it wasn't even a half shirt. She like ran her hand up her shirt,
like she was a frat guy, being
she
like,
did.
she was like,
my
oh,
abs.
I know. It's just funny. See, that would have pushed me over the limit if I were Beckett. I would have taken my gun out or something. Put your clothes on.
Beckett was just like so calm about the whole entire thing, just kind of like, caught her off guard, but at the same time she was being like, okay, well, you kind of disrespected me, I'm gonna let Castle handle this.
Yeah, and she did say, you know, you might want to put some pants on, and she's like, why? I'm not going anywhere.
Well, it's really not in a mean way. I guess in the relationship it's Kate's place to say, but in the fact that it's not her home, it's not her daughter, it's not her ex-wife. She doesn't know Meredith. I mean, it is Castle's job to take the responsibility here and ask her to leave. I think if Kate were to say something, she may be stepping over a few boundaries, and she would be causing issues not only between her and Castle, but between her and Meredith, between her and Alexis. I mean, it's just being the new woman's
like
hard.
The episode could have been Beckett realizing this is a moment to test Castle. Can he step up and grow balls when he needs to? And the writers didn't make it that episode. I mean, they made it much more kind of interesting, little like a little dance of like, no, it's cool. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna try to make it work, which I thought was actually pretty mature.
But at the same time, like Beckett was annoyed by the situation because she just kind of hinted, like in the beginning, she said, "Do you not know what this look mean?" Like she's kind of disapprove of the situation, and Castle's like, "What look?" Like, you know, kind of like clueless, like, "What are you talking about?" But you know, she's kind of uncomfortable the whole entire time because she expects for Castle to be the man, to really kind of put his foot down. It's like, hey, you know, I'm your girl, I'm staying with you, and your ex-wife should not be staying with you, whether your daughter is sick or not. And some of the things that she's doing is kind of overstepping the boundary because, like, if I have my girl staying with me and she can't, and I have my ex come downstairs with no pants on.
Well, we're gonna give our opinion and takes on that. That will be the last thing that we discuss. But now let's go into how, kind of like the guys versus the girls, because you know women obviously had their opinion and guys had their opinion. So you had Lainey, who was like, you know, hey, it was something that had to do with the murder. She was like, you know, I'll call you when it's time. And when Beckett comes down to where Lainey's at, they go
girl time with the cadaver.
They go right into girl time before she reveals the information of what needs to happen for the murder. And so she had her perspective. Lainey was like, no, it's not Castle's responsibility. It's your responsibility, and you basically need to, put her in her place. What did you think about that?
Well, okay, for me, it's kind of like, when a girl gets cheated on and she never blames her boyfriend, she blames the other girl. Yeah. I feel like that was one of those situations. Lainey was very much, it's Meredith's fault. This isn't on Castle. She shouldn't even ask to be staying here knowing you exist. It's like woman code, you know what I mean? So now you have to show her that you're the one in control. You're the one who's got Castle. You're the one doing this. And so she got that in Beckett's head, I think. And that's why this whole time when she was asked to dinner with Meredith, she said, I'm going, and she went in like head first. She refused to stay in the hotel, and she did it.
Yeah, that whole thing that Lainey set up of like, if this is war, you're losing. It was very dramatic.
Yeah. Do you agree with her perspective, her opinion?
I think that I felt biased. I felt biased because Meredith was coming across as such a horrible person that you couldn't trust. So yeah, I guess under those circumstances, I did feel like Beckett probably should follow up and see what this woman's plans are naked in her ex-husband's
I think
house.
You also have to kind of consider, it's hard to get into Meredith's frame of mind, but at the same time, she's coming into this house and she doesn't know Kate, but she knows that Kate's staying in the house where her daughter lives. It's also, you have to think, she's a mom. This woman's in her daughter's life. Maybe she's not checking it out solely to see what Castle thinks of Kate or how their relationship is, but who Kate is to Alexis. You don't think about that much, but I think that's also an important aspect of it.
I think overall, like when you're kind of in a situation with the ex and you kind of have a current relationship, it's really up to the guy or the girl who has the ex to really kind of establish like, this is the boundaries between you and my current girlfriend, you and my ex, because at the end of the day, it's Castle's place, and both of them are staying in Castle's home. Castle has the right to say, no, you cannot stay here, Meredith, because Beckett is staying here, and you have to respect that. But Castle never, took the opportunity to state that to Meredith, even though he says she's very convincing, but at the end of the day, you're the man, you're the one that's in control of the situation, and you should be the one putting your foot down and saying, Meredith, no, you can't stay. Thank you for stopping by, but if you need to get a hotel, I will allow you, I'll pay for your hotel, and you can come by and check on.
Why does he have to pay for that hotel? She seems like she's got a lot of money.
Yeah, but
probably coming out of Castle's pocket already in Alabama, to be honest.
That's true, but I think it was more so that Beckett she was stating her problem to Castle, and it was up to Castle to really put his foot down to be like, hey, Meredith, you're overstepping the boundaries by coming down with no clothes on, with no pants on. And then that whole moment they had in the kitchen about the coffee, that was kind of like...
Yeah. Well, and then just going from the guy's perspective, Ron and Esposito, basically what you said is what Ron and Esposito said, is that it's your job. You don't, that's just very awkward. You don't put, he said, you're putting, who said someone else's butt on the jacket? Someone?
I don't know.
Oh, it was Lainey, wasn't it? When
that was Lainey, but Ryan and Esposito said something too. They said they made a very interesting comment.
You have two worlds clashing, two worlds coming together. Your ex-wife who knows your old self, and Kate who knows your new self.
Yeah, and so that was the guy's perspective. So now let's go into what you were saying about how when Meredith and Castle had their moment together, where when they was drinking coffee, what was the ingredient?
Nutmeg.
It was nutmeg. And that was kind of a moment that obviously made Beckett feel uncomfortable. And I just think that, just my opinion, I just think that Castle should have nipped it in the bud. Luckily, it worked out, but it really could have went a million different directions, and it could not have been in his favor.
The whole thing could have gone a million different directions, but I think it kind of wrapped itself up smoothly. I mean, Meredith and Kate kind of ended this situation. Castle had nothing to do with any rectifying of relationships at all, or even his own relationship. So, I mean, Meredith
pointed to the potentially future problem.
Right, which we didn't mention when we were describing what happened, but at the end, after Kate and her go to dinner and they play a little joke on Castle.
But before we go to the end, what did you guys think about that Meredith wanted to have dinner with Beckett.
I think it's just like one of those situations where an ex just want to kind of like, hey, let me kind of see what type of person that you are. But I think it's real great of Beckett to actually like, hey, yes, I'm going to dinner, just to kind of see what is her motive and her objective for being here.
I think it's a girl thing. I seriously do. I know, like, if I have a problem with another girl, I say, why don't we grab lunch? Because, one, it's public, so there's going to be no yelling. No, there's going to be no yelling. They can't cry. They can't yell. I mean, they can, but they're going to cause a scene. So, I mean, I think girls, you know, would much rather say, oh, why don't we grab lunch? And that's how you meet the person and get to know the person in, you know, a public setting. And it's not in the house where she's naked and she's with Castle. It's just, and how she called him Rick, that was so annoying to me.
I don't know. Like I said, it worked out great, but I didn't like the whole idea. I don't think she should have took her up on the offer. Like, what?
Why not? I mean,
you're divorced. Why?
Because that person will always be in his life. Alexis's mother will always be a part of his life, no matter what. So Kate might as well get to know her now. I mean, if she doesn't get to know her now, it's going to be a problem for the relationship down the road.
She ain't been around in 4 seasons.
At the same time, you know, it kind of takes that turn to where like somebody have to basically be the adult because again, like you said, like they're gonna continue to be around each other. Where she don't come back for another 4 seasons, it's like she was still gonna be part of Castle's life, the ex-wife, Beckett will, and it's just kind of when it's gonna be that opportunity for them to kind of sit down, actually either become friends or hate each other. In this case, right now, they're friends. As of most guys, like I'm not gonna invite another ex, like, hey, you know, tell your boyfriend, let's go hang out and stuff. Like, if I see you, great, cool, I'm cordial with you, and who knows, we might be like good friends. But for the most part, I wouldn't invite another guy. I'd be like, hey, let's go to dinner or to the bar.
That's my point. But again, like you said, that's a girl thing. I could not imagine being at the sports bar, Big Wings or something, and you know, we're drinking or I'm there drinking, and I don't know, like.
Yes, it's totally a girl thing.
It is.
And B, I think that she may have switched. You know, I feel like she may have come in. It was very useful to hear that whenever they see each other, they have makeup sex or some sort of whatever, some sort of like we're not still exes, and. I think that if it started out that she wanted to get in between the two of them, it ended up being that she wanted to sort of get back at Castle for dating someone else awesome, and she got back at Castle by befriending Kate.
Which is a girl's motive. Make your enemy your frenemy. I mean, it's all girl stuff here, people. You guys just aren't there.
Just trust us.
But I have to say, I loved Lainey in this. We saw a lot more of her. And I also loved Ryan and Esposito. They're just so funny together. And I was on Twitter today and going through all their tweets, and Seamus retweeted something his friend said. And he referred to Seamus and what's his name in real life? Jose? Is it?
It's
Juan? What is his name?
John Huertas.
Yeah. Huertas. See, that's where I'm getting Jose. He tweeted that they're brusbands, like bro husbands or something, like in real life, not even in the show. And he's like, watch these brusbands on their show tonight. And I thought that was so cute because their relationship on camera obviously must stem from their relationship off screen, which I like. I like to know that these people are friends with each other.
And in fact, that was it was sort of set up for us that we were going to have some good times with Ryan and Esposito because of the very beginning. And I guess it wasn't at the very beginning, but it was really early on when the two of them were running after the bad guy, and they get him together, and they like have the guns together. I mean, it's so unnecessary that they were like. It was like I think one person probably would have been enough.
Even the little things when they kept saying when your worlds collide. Yeah. And like every time they'd see Castle, they'd just be like. Like they're just so funny, and they're honestly probably my favorite characters on the show because they always make you laugh no matter what the episode, no matter how sad or if Castle and Beckett are fighting, they're funny. Yeah. Even when they're fighting. They really are a husband and brusbands. But so if you have any comments on these brusbands, you can go to iTunes. You can check us out and you can like us. You can comment, rate us, and tell us what you're thinking. We do read your comments and we take criticism and we work with it. And if you want to see anything more or want to hear us talk about something more, an aspect of the show we're not talking about, let us know and make sure to rate us. And also, there's a podcast app that you can download and it will organize all of your podcasts, whether they're AfterBuzz TV podcasts or others that will organize them, make sure it downloads for you weekly or monthly, however often that podcast happens. So that is also handy to have. All right.
All right. All right. So anything else we want to talk about as far as the relationship before we get into the actual murder?
I think we got to jump into the murder because that brought up, I mean, obviously the dual plots brought up more stuff for
And I want to go back for some reason. I feel like we haven't connected the dots, but maybe the title and the overarching theme kind of is playing off each other in these episodes. This was an obvious one with significant others and things like that, but I kind of going forward want to see if we can like connect them. You know what I mean? Because I think that might be something that's happening. I haven't noticed it before, but this episode was obviously very clear.
And I thought it was actually really fun because a lot of shows, besides Castle and sometimes Castle, will have, you know, the A plot and the B plot, and they'll subtly hint at each other. This one was so overt that even Kate was like, "Are you kidding me?
Right.
Can we not talk more about ex-wives?"
It was
so it was really fun. I feel like the writers were like, "Can we go there? We're just gonna go there."
Yeah, it was funny. But this episode, there's a murder of a woman, and it was funny because we don't usually see, you know, the pre-murder part. I feel like we find the body, they get a call in the morning, they rush to a scene, and then this one you see her in her car, and you kind of know this is the woman who's going to die. This is the woman this episode's going to be about. And so she's stabbed in the neck with an ice pick. Morbid. That's an awful way to go. I can only imagine. And I
should hope you don't imagine.
I can only imagine. And her Michelle Tui.
Yeah.
What a name. But so she's a divorce lawyer and she only works with women, which I almost feels like is discrimination, but that's another topic, I guess.
Well, there are plenty of lawyers. I mean, there's a famous lawyer, Gloria, I forget her name.
I know who you're talking about.
The old lady. She only represents women, and
she's the one representing the woman that Lindsay Lohan punched, right? Is that who you're talking about?
No, not her. But her name is. I want to say her name is Gloria Aldrich. She represents anytime that there's some woman that Tiger Woods, his
Elin.
Yeah. All of the jump offs. She represented all of them.
Maybe this was somehow based on that.
Yeah. So she only represents women, and so obviously it seems as though an ex-husband of one of these women must be coming after her. For some reason or another, she took them for all they were worth for this woman or something of that sort. But it turns out it wasn't that at all. Yeah. And so this episode took a lot of twists and turns. I feel like that Castle's really been slowing down on all that. It's been a little more clear-cut what's happening, but this episode, I did not expect the ending at all. That was not in my view. But I don't know. What do you guys?
Well, it's hard to. Definitely, it's hard to see a completely new human being that that was not going to be something we could have guessed earlier.
Right. So she was dating. So we find out she's a divorce lawyer. She talked to a financial advisor, and his name was Robert Garrison, and he had a wife. I don't remember her first name, Mrs. Garrison. And so first they visit him, and they ask what she wanted. And she just wanted him to meet her the next day, and she didn't say about what, and he assumed it was a case, and he's clueless. He honestly is. He has no idea. Then we go to, his name was Herman. He has a couple arrests on his record, and he was the one they thought killed her because they saw him fleeing from the scene. Right. But really, they were working together.
Yeah, he was the photographer who would go in on the DL and he would snap the pics of the husbands to try and find out what they were doing, if they were creeping or not.
But we learned from him that she was really freaking out those last few days before her death,
and that they had a bad breakup or a business relationship, a business breakup, and so she texted him several times and he kept saying no, and then she left him a video saying how important it was. So that's why he came down, and then once he came down, he noticed that she was dead, and so he ran.
And I would run. I don't know if I would run too, but he has arrests on his record, and they said attempted murder was on his record too, and I don't know if that was just something they were saying or if that really was. And if it was, and he's caught at that scene, I mean, even just parole-wise, I don't know.
He'd definitely be like a number one suspect in the murder.
So it's not him. So then they check with the boyfriend, and they've only been dating a month. He kind of just seems like a nice guy. Said she was a little wrapped up with her work, doesn't know about what. And then we go to the golf player. Was that who it was next?
Yeah.
Billy Piper?
Billy Piper?
No, I thought it was Samantha Voss.
man.
Oh, Samantha Voss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
That comes in as a
she
side.
was crazy.
Yeah.
She was angry.
I know, that's so funny.
And now that ties into the thing because she was upset that he paid to have sex with another woman. So
It's a significant other.
yeah, exactly. So it ties in.
And she lost in court to him.
Yeah.
And Michelle was her lawyer, and she lost. So that helps us decide it's not this man who killed her, you know, and it's not this case that she was freaking out about. But apparently she came in crying, and she was upset. And so she had left a cafe, and that's where her boyfriend was. Apparently, he's going by a different name. He's not really that guy. He's really Noah Kesswood. And he's part of the CIA or something, intelligence.
Yeah.
And they have to track him down. And he's being hired by Bill Piper, who's such a sketchy guy and
Oh my
so
God, that
creepy.
scene was
Right.
amazing. She's not my favorite trophy.
Oh my
He
gosh.
was so like into himself that he didn't care about anything
Anything,
else
yeah.
but his personal image.
Yeah, it was sad though to see somebody that self-absorbed. Like when he said, I lost my family, I lost my endorsements, I lost my career. And Beckett's like, and your wife? She died?
Right.
You don't care?
Right.
Like that's freaky to me that people out there don't even care.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Right?
Well, and then, I mean, we find out that he actually didn't have anything to do with
Her death.
Yeah.
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 Well, so then this is when things start turning. And we find out that Michelle was kind of looking into that death. Bill's wife, during the middle of their kind of divorce, they decide to reconcile, go on a boat trip, and she falls overboard, goes missing, can't be found. He's assumed to be a murderer.
Yeah.
They can't press charges, there's no evidence. So he hired Noah basically to be like a private investigator of Michelle. And he finds out she's looking into it and what she's looking into. And that's when they kind of connect the dots because they go back and see who she visited and what she did leading up to the day she died. And she visited, Noah talked to Robert Garrison, and she had wanted to talk to Robert Garrison. So that's when they're kind of looking at the pictures on the board, and they see Robert Garrison's wife, and they have a picture of Mrs. Piper, who's dead, and Castle says, you know,
Don't you see the resemblance
that's
between
the-
these two people?
yeah, and it's the same woman.
Yeah.
And guess who killed Michelle? The dead woman. Well, she's not even dead.
Yeah.
I mean,
And her motive for that was
to stay dead, basically, to stay out of the limelight because she wanted to.
she knew the information. The lawyer knew the information, and she was willing to, you know, expose all that, and she didn't want to do that.
It's sad because it seems as though she must have been in somewhat of an abusive relationship with Bill, and she was so desperate to get out of it, she faked her own death, had plastic surgery, and was supposed to leave the country but fell in love, so she changed who she was. That's sad to me, and she did tarnish his reputation in his life.
Yeah.
But you can't kill somebody just because you hate your ex-husband.
She would have really been sympathetic,
Yeah.
except for that last
Until
part.
she killed her.
Yeah, or why couldn't she have just gone out of town and
Disappeared again.
Because
Well,
She fell
also,
in
seriously, what she should have done is talk to Michelle, because Michelle's a divorce lawyer. And
Well, Michelle knew
She-
her.
she- she
Michelle
knew
was
her.
And Michelle was her own divorce lawyer, right?
But
But-
Michelle
all she-
understood what was going on.
and Michelle took Billy's side, and
Yeah.
Billy was, and she was gonna go forward.
because she felt like what was done to him in the media was not
yeah, it wasn't
just.
right.
It wasn't right.
Even
Because
though everybody hated him, I guess.
Yeah.
everybody hated him, but there's a difference between being a bad person and being a murderer. You know what I mean? I think those are two very different.
Yeah, they kind of hated him more for the murder than anything.
Well,
But
nobody
it is
hated him
interesting
before that.
It is interesting that she has chosen for her life to represent only women, and that in her, you know, the thing that makes her die is that she chooses the guy's side.
Yeah, that is weird. I
That
didn't
is
think
weird.
about
I
that.
didn't think about that either. Yeah,
And
that
she
is weird.
seems like so. And I'm actually curious also in that little video that we did see when she was talking to the Herman guy.
Yeah.
She said life hangs in the balance. And I wonder now which one she referred to, whose life she's
I don't know.
referring to.
I think maybe Billy's. I don't think it was hers. I don't think she thought she was going to be killed because
I don't either.
I mean-
but she seemed so desperate.
she did.
But she didn't seem like she felt like she was being
But
followed.
when she came off as desperate, and she was having problems and she was crying, I thought that it had something to do with like a personal relationship or something that she was going through, or maybe that's why she defends women so much, because maybe you know there wasn't enough information, but
I think from the video, she looked like she was going through more than something like she was super personal, as if like someone was like after her, because she just kind of felt like, I'm scared for my life. Please help me. And I really need you to take these pictures for me because I fear for my life because this is what's really happening to me.
Maybe she was threatened. Who knows? I mean, maybe this just was a big thing for her. You know, it must have tested her morals and tested what she thought was right. Do you give up Mrs. Piper, or do you let Bill Piper keep going through his life as basically assumed as a murderer? And so I think she was torn there. The thing that confuses me also is that the detectives, they were saying, you know, Castle and Beckett were saying, you know, your husband said that the ice pick was missing. Your husband said you were gone that night. He was so easy to give her up, to say, my wife did this, basically. He gave them everything they needed.
He probably didn't know anything at all, though.
Because they did set up that he was pretty clueless.
Yeah. He seemed pretty clueless,
but they did leave out that scene, so we don't really know.
Yeah.
It's
I know, but if that was me, I'd be like, huh. Gosh, where do your loyalties lie?
Although also, if you're in love with your wife and you find out that maybe she murdered someone, that does sort of change things.
And she's somebody else.
And she's somebody else. And which means that she made up an entire history and that their entire, you know,
relationship's a lie.
Do you think what was her name? Who the murderer? What was her name?
Lisa, I think. Was it Lisa?
It was Lisa.
Who?
The murderer.
The murderer.
Piper.
What was her first name?
I think it was Lisa, but.
Or Leah, Linda.
Leanne.
Let's go with Leanne.
Too many names. There's so many suspects.
I know.
Yeah.
I also think that she was totally slipping. She felt too comfortable when she was with Castle and Beckett. Like, you know, they just set her up. She was sitting there drinking coffee or had something in the mug, and they took her fingerprints. She should have. I felt like she got too comfortable with her new identity and forgot the fact that she really has a whole that she has a new identity, and that you always have to when you commit a huge crime, you have to be on. You have to watch your back at all times.
All the time.
And I don't feel like her character did that, because that was too easy. She's just sitting there and, I've given you all the information that I need, and she's just drinking.
Well, she probably thought that charm was going to be her best defense.
I think she was real comfortable with who she were, and like nobody would ever like connect the pieces together, because the murder happened so long ago that she just kind of like, hey, I'm this new person and nobody knows who I am. But
well, I also don't think I don't think she thought she was in there for the reason she was in there.
Yeah.
I think she thought, oh, my husband's involved with this. They want to question me separately. I don't think she was expecting them to throw that bomb at her, that she was really
her own
picture. I don't think, because when they showed it to her, she was shocked.
Yeah.
I think if she was expecting it, she wouldn't have been like that. She would have played it off a little bit better than that. So I don't think it was her resting on her. I don't know. I don't think she was giving up, watching over her back. I think she was literally caught off guard by the fact that they even had an inkling of who she was.
But the thing about her husband never told anything
But
at all.
She did just murder someone 2 days before.
I mean, if my wife killed somebody and I was questioned by the cops, I'm like, babe, I was just questioned by the cops, and this is what I told them.
But then she's gonna turn around and stab you with an ice pick. You better watch it.
Do you know anything about this? Like, I would ask questions as a husband and concerned, because
we don't know what happened in that scene.
Obviously,
Maybe
he did not communicate with her well.
Yeah, well, she's a whole other person. They obviously keep a lot of things to themselves.
But the interesting thing is, the night she accidentally killed herself, the guy Walter, who was like part of the same like boat club and everything,
helped her.
Yeah, it never like clarified like why he needed the money, everything. He just kind of like, it's like Walter, like, help me, like.
Well, I think Walter was the one without the money in that relationship with Mrs. Voss, because he got all the money. There's no way he would have gotten all that money if he wasn't entitled to it without a prenup or something like that. She must have been the breadwinner. She must have been an heiress or something.
Totally. You can tell by her attitude. She was kind of the rich one, because most women who are cheated on
get the money.
She wouldn't really care that much, because she's going to get broke off in the settlement and the divorce. But she seems awfully pissed about it. But I thought that scene was really funny, because the way she was breaking things, and then he got upset, and then he's breaking things, and then the two of them were told if anyone breaks anything, then they go to jail. And rather than just put the items down, obviously they break something and then they're arrested. So there was some bad blood between them.
Which was fun because it was another, like, you know, significant others having drama, and their drama was obviously the much more like visual and dramatic version of what Castle and Beckett
I feel like that's everybody's, you know, horror story. Oh, I had these friends who got divorced and they went crazy. You know, I think that's what that was.
And I mean, the value of the stuff that they were breaking, who knows? Like
millions.
People could have eaten off of that for years.
I've incurred different kind of craziness, but not where people are like breaking it. You know.
Tell us about it, Bamm.
Well, you know. We can't because we're running out of time. But, you know, off camera, I'll tell you some of the crazy stories of my friends. But right now we can't because the time is up. So let's wrap up really quick. And so we thought tonight's episode was a great episode, obviously, and we look forward to next week. So let's get into predictions.
One key thing about the end of it, how Beckett and Meredith, they just had the conversation. The reason why they broke up.
Yes.
That was kind of interesting, and it left like Beckett kind of feeling like, is this the right person for me?
That is true. Let's hold off on the predictions. That's a very good point. We can end on that one.
Yeah.
On that. So the music was playing. So
well, that leads into a prediction. I mean, what we didn't say exactly was that at the end, Beckett asked Meredith why they didn't work out, and she says, you know, I was basically an open book. Castle knew every single thing about me. He could write novels about me, but I could barely write a pamphlet about him. He doesn't tell you anything. He wouldn't tell me how he felt after he never met his father. Things like that, and that gets Beckett thinking
behind his
humor and
sheen.
And so that's what we didn't say, and we should have said. And so your prediction. You can go ahead and say it again.
I mean, I think my prediction is that Beckett feels a certain way because Castle is still that same person because he kind of hides behind everything that he does. He don't really kind of speaks about himself. He just kind of speaks about, you know, what's currently happening between him and Beckett, you know, his current life, but he never expresses himself like outside of like, hey, let's go to dinner or like we having a moment. So you don't know no details about Castle.
Here's my thing. Do you necessarily this is the person she fell in love with. She fell in love with Beckett. With Castle. And that's the person he is. And some people don't express their past or their feelings.
And now we're changing sides. And now I feel like I'm going to move over to the woman's side. Sometimes a woman changes when she falls in love. As you notice, Beckett was very hardcore, you know, she had a wall. And she's caring, and there's just certain things that she does, and she's doing it because she's in love. Yeah. And so I think that although Castle was that way and that's how she fell in love, but she's completely open now. And so now that the ex-wife mentions that, yes, she wants to know those things. And it dawned on her, okay, well, wow, I don't know some of these things. Now, mind you, Beckett for all 5 seasons had a wall with what's going on with her mom and her dad. So she has a huge wall too. So Castle can easily throw that back at her and say, well, hey, you know, there's a lot of things that you and I are not comfortable discussing. So I'm curious to see how this relationship is gonna work now that Meredith has kind of opened Beckett's eyes.
Here's the question. You know, was there a conversation? You don't tell me enough. You don't express yourself enough. It bothers me that you don't do that. You know, if Beckett didn't even seem to want this information about Castle until Meredith expressed that that's why they didn't work out. And maybe for Meredith, yes, that wasn't enough. She didn't know enough about Castle. She wanted more. Like she said, she wanted more. It just became one-sided for her. But maybe for Beckett, that's what she wants. I mean, she fell in love with Castle. This is who Castle is. Why change him now? For a reason that you don't have, but a reason his ex-wife had. It's just in her head. It's
in her head, and because it's in her head, now she's thinking that. So obviously that conversation has to come up.
What I hope happens, I mean, what would be nice to have happen in the real world if this was a real world relationship, is that she would then just talk to Castle and say, Meredith said this. It made me think there is a little element of that. Let's work on that together as a couple.
I don't think she's gonna say that, but she's gonna have her eyes more open to be like, hey, more observant of Castle's character now.
Right, but what's the point in that?
But
if
in
you
a
don't
negative
tell
way.
him, yeah.
She asked though.
Now she's getting it like created a divide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think in the next couple episodes, it's going to become a problem. When we talked to Tamala, she said things are too. When they seem too good to last, they usually are, and she said that. And I also think we're in the second half of the season now, so we're bound to see some Lainey and Esposito action. Right? Like it has to be coming.
I hate to sound like an ass, but you remember how Tamala said that there's possibility that Dwight Howard may, come and be a guy. Well, he's not going to be playing basketball, so he might as well. I'm just saying, he's not going to be playing basketball for some time, so he might as well, guest on Castle.
So that's your prediction.
Might as well be a reoccurring character.
Yeah.
Hey, Dwight Howard.
Yeah. So, any other predictions before we get out of here?
No.
All right. So, you guys, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. So, let everyone know where you can be found on social media.
Yes, you can find me, Paige Sullivan, at Paige Sul on Twitter and at perfectpage.com.
That's adorable.
Thanks.
Is that new?
It's somewhat new.
I love it. I'm Samara Bay. You can find me at Samara Bay on Twitter and thesmartyattheparty.com.
And I'm Larice Shamar. You can find me at True Peoples, TruePeoples, at Twitter and also at TruePeopleMedia.com.
And you can find me at Bamm Ericsen, BAMMERICSEN on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, all the good stuff. So we want to thank you guys for watching another episode here on AfterBuzz TV for Castle Season 5, Episode 10. We want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.